Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's around 10:58 a.m. Um, I was going to originally talk about the comments or in reference to graven images and idols and things like that. But after hearing and reading Trump's tweet about Adam Schiff and saying he needs to step down from the Intelligence Committee, I decided to talk a little bit about that first. And if Adam Schiff sees my video, or people who support him or people who don't support him, I say stay in place. If anyone should step down, it should be this fake president of the United States. He's a habitual liar. He continuously lies, spreads fake news, tries to divide and conquer the people, and makes up things every day in reference to someone, and says that the Mueller investigation proved nothing, when we find out that the Mueller report was between 300 and 500 pages, not talking about all the other elements that are part of that, which are diagrams and graphs and other things that they let's say got from the investigations from people's homes. A lot of things that were probably included in the Mueller report. And so you've got Barr making just this really small summary of this 300 to 500 page document with multiple, exhibits and things like that. So you have to wonder. Well, I do wonder and believe that there's more to the story, and that Trump is doing what he usually does, which is to downplay his part and take the role of the victim. And this is just one more step for him to create a totalitarian government, to brandish the news media and to destroy it, so that people insist that the media go away. The media is the people's voice. And if Trump can destroy that, then the people of the United States don't have a voice. And this is our First Amendment right given to us and granted to us by the U.S. Constitution and by our forefathers. Have a right to an opinion. When I've expressed my opinion, people tell me to shut up, or go to hell, or my opinion doesn't matter, and start using terms like snowflake, crybaby, things like that. Well, if I'm a snowflake, then you're a snowflake. Anybody who has an opinion gives that opinion regardless of how others might feel. And you can do it in such a way that you can be respectful of one another. But Trump chooses not to be respectful of those that he deems expendable to him. And Adam Schiff has become that focus of Trump now, because Adam Schiff has made it his let's say his goal to keep an eye on Trump, to make sure that he is held accountable for whatever his actions are. It's just like if someone goes and files charges with their company's HR department. It's not the company's job to decide that that person falsely accused someone. They could come up with that, but they have to take every case seriously. And just because they say that something didn't occur doesn't mean that it did. It just means there weren't enough witnesses, enough people to be able to prove that these individuals did the kinds of things to this particular person that was, kind of, sorry about the cell phone, to this particular person. And we know that a lot of white heterosexual men have been getting away with sexual harassment and things since the dawn of time, since, businesses started employing women and women were being sexually harassed. They're still not being paid equal pay for equal work. And so men have a habit of mansplaining that. Their reasoning for why women aren't getting paid the same as men. And you're going to get this from the Republicans, from the GOP. And for those of you who are saying you're obviously a Democrat and you're only looking at what the Republicans say and do. I am behaving no differently than what the Republicans have done under Barack Obama when he was president of the United States, constantly haranguing him, putting up comments, insisting that this person and that person be dealt with, um, intentionally sabotaging the president to keep him from being successful. And then you bring in someone like Donald Trump, one of the worst presidents ever in the history of the United States. He will go down as probably the worst president ever if the world survives his presidency. If he doesn't bring about total destruction and doom of the American people, because he has a habit of making comments and tweeting things before he thinks. His brain goes faster, or his mouth runs faster than his brain. And I think that's why he sleeps with Russian prostitutes and gets into the whole PP thing, because he just does stuff and doesn't even think about the ramifications or the outcomes and how it's going to affect the FLOTUS, if you will. And she knows he's cheated on her. She's been told, and she's sticking by his side. And I hope that payoff is worth it for Melania, because I cannot imagine spending a whole day, let alone an hour, let alone a whole day, hanging out with this man. I don't care if they have crystal chandeliers, or if they have gold on the wall, or gold doors leading in. I don't care if they have a gold throne that Trump shits on. It would not be worth it to stay one moment longer with that man than you had to, because he is vulgar, he is gross, and he is a shame, and has made a mockery out of America. He's not making America great again. And those of you that are buying that hyperbole, you have a lot of thinking to do, because this man only wants to destroy everyone who's not a heterosexual white male. Yesterday, when he tweeted about Kellyanne Conway's husband, I'm thinking, oh, Kellyanne, where are your loyalties? And why would they lie with Donald Trump over your own husband, who is with you and loves you and sees what Trump is doing? And you're there allowing this man to tweet stuff about your husband that you have claimed to love, and not made any comment back, playing the dutiful president's lying hag. And it's really quite upsetting when I see women like you and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and men like Sean Spicer and some of the other people just lie for this president in such a way that it's obvious that you're lying. Sean Hannity thinks that he makes everybody really believe that Trump's a great guy. And Sean Hannity is a pig. He is a pig. He's disgusting. And he doesn't show any kind of Christian values whatsoever in his reporting and the way he talks about people. He is in my opinion, he is a ambulance chaser, chasing after crap to be able to demean and humiliate the part of the party that he hates with all his heart. And his intention is to try to destroy that, and to control everyone. And one of the biggest things that they have going on is wanting to inflict Christian values upon everyone in America. Eventually, it'll be, if you don't say the Pledge of Allegiance, or you don't salute the flag, or you don't pray to God, or you don't attend church services, that you're going to be imprisoned or even put to death, under the way that Trump seems to be wanting to dictate and have a totalitarian rule over this country. A lot of the evangelicals tend to be all about this. And the one thing I want to say about that is Billy Graham's son Franklin, Pat Robertson's son, all those who want to stick their nose into politics, start paying taxes. Stop claiming tax exempt status when all you are doing is sticking your nose into politics where it does not belong, separation of church and state. And once you have crossed that line, then you should no longer be eligible for tax exemptions, and you should be required to pay taxes. And I think that we would be amazed at how much better our economy would become if the religious organizations were forced to pay taxes for sticking their nose into political areas. And instead of buying private jets and having immaculate homes that go way beyond anything that the average American can afford, taking money from the poor and telling them to tithe, and you're living in a lavish lifestyle with huge homes, immaculate homes, and inside and outdoor swimming pools, things that you say that Christ wants you to have. Jesus walked the earth. Jesus did not collect materialistic things. He was all about the people, loving the people, trying to lead the people to salvation through being the salt of the earth, which many of you have failed to do. So getting back to Adam Schiff, you stay in place. You stand up to these people. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them tell you you need to step down because you told all these lies about the Russian collusion. The only liar in this whole game is Donald J. Trump and his little minion Barr, who in this case is just blasting away and minimizing the Mueller report. And I respect Robert Mueller for submitting the report in the way that he did. So this is by in no means any kind of slam toward him. But I'm not believing anything about that report until I see it. As I said in yesterday's podcast, they had no problem embarrassing and humiliating Monica Lewinsky and really President Bill Clinton and humiliating Hillary by putting out this Ken Starr report that millions of dollars was invested in, that was just a seedy, graphic, pornographic novel. And I would imagine that many of the men in Republican offices and such have gotten off to that because many of them have had their own illicit affairs, have divorced and remarried. So when they talk about the sanctity of marriage and the holiness of marriage, then maybe they should be forced to go back and be married to wife number one. Because if you really go by what the Bible says, you should never have been divorced. Therefore, you and wife number one should be back together, even if you hate each other's guts. And you should keep the sanctity of marriage. The Graven image that I was wanting to talk about, seems like the perfect time to talk about it. I've been on some websites where merchandise is being sold, and the merchandise are things about Trump products. Keep America Great is a hat that I saw on one site. Trump collectible coins, which I have some, and I'll sell them to any Trumpist who wants them. I didn't get them for me. I got them because if you're a Trump person, then you shouldn't mind paying me the money for them. And so I'm like anybody else. I need to make money. I need to make a living. And so if you like that kind of stuff, just let me know. And I'd be willing to sell you some Trump coins that came out that I bought from China. And a couple Trump hats, Make America Great Again. If you didn't get yours in the 2016 election, I have a couple that I would be willing to sell to you, or I'll happily go outside and film myself lighting them on fire. The Well, and they're kind of like a graven image. Anything that you hold up and you idolize over your supposed belief in God and your presumed salvation, like the American flag, like uh, the American flag, the Christmas tree, the statue of the Virgin Mary, the pictures of Jesus Christ that many of you have hanging in your homes. Those are idols and those are graven images. When you look at what the Bible says, those are things that you hold up with the highest esteem. When you put crosses in your yard or up on a hill and you look at that cross and you put more thought into that cross on a daily basis than you do thinking about the things that Jesus Christ would have you do, then those things are idols and graven images to you. And you are worshiping those things. So if somebody went into your yard and destroyed this cross that you had up, you would have them arrested to the full extent of the law for something that you hold dear to you that should have no meaning whatsoever other than your love for Christ. Your love for Christ should be something that's internal and personal to you. And having these flags, American flag, and wrapping yourself in it, and the American flag, people shouldn't be letting it touch the ground. People should be flying it on the 4th of July. People should have respect for the flag. Why should people respect the flag when you don't give equal rights to everybody in this country? You treat people differently. The only people that hold an overwhelming desire and love for the American flag are the heterosexual white men, the white supremacists, the white nationalists, people like Ann Coulter and Tommy Lahren and Rush Winbag and Sean Hannity and all of these people who just want to make it all about the flag. And so all of the American people, probably Democrats and Republicans alike, fall to that that scam, that sign that the flag means something, and each country has its flag. And those flags for any country doesn't mean crap to me. The American flag, I've had one. I put it on my coffee table and used it for a cover. It's not because I don't respect America. The American flag means nothing to me any more than the Brazilian flag or the Canadian flag or the flag that is Britain. Everybody has this flag. Even the rainbow flag doesn't hold a level of significance for me. It isn't about the flag. It's not about that symbol. It is about what we do. People run around with the Confederate flag. They don't care that the Confederate flag is all about the oppression of many, many thousands of people. It has a painful historic reminder of what occurred and how people were enslaved and put to death. And people will drive around, and the only reason why you hang that rebel flag is not because you want to be a rebel. It's because you know it's going to piss off a group of people that you want to piss off. And that's your reason for doing it. So your Christmas trees, oh, they're beautiful. I make mine immaculate as anything, but I know that that Christmas tree means nothing because Christmas was a pagan holiday adopted by the Christians as being the birth of Christ. And many of you are going to get mad, but nobody knows when Christ's birthday is. You don't know when Christ's birthday is. Christmas isn't about Christ's birthday. Christmas is a celebration that was started as a pagan holiday, the Festival of Lights, and people love the lights. They strung them around the tree. And so we had Christians have adopted many of the pagan holidays so they can have a reason or an excuse to celebrate the things they want to celebrate, and to say that they're doing it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ in celebration of him, when quite clearly they are doing it for the beauty of the Christmas tree, because it means family and the gathering of family and friends, and the giving of gifts, the receiving of gifts. It has become very materialized, and I can understand that the stores want to make Christmas all about spending lots and lots of money. I like to get gifts for Christmas, and I love to give them. I love to see the smiles on people's faces when I give those gifts. I don't give them to them because Jesus was given frankincense, gold, and myrrh when at his birth. I give gifts to people because I truly want those people to know that I love them and respect them as human beings, and that I really want them to understand that me giving that gift to them has no strings attached, except for my love and my want of people doing the best and the most upstanding things for one another. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't love colored lights, and I don't love seeing the Christmas trees. I don't love seeing the Kwanzaa candles, the Star of David, all the different things, all the different celebrations that go on. And during the Easter holidays, seeing little girls in their Easter dresses, and the little boys in their Sunday best, and the parents dressed up. All those things bring back nice, cute little memories of, how people really took Easter and made it about family, and made special dinner, and there was Easter egg hunts and things like that. Searching for an Easter egg that was hidden. I'd like for someone to explain to me exactly how, or, write it in your comments below. But where did the idea of hiding Easter eggs and having children search for them come from in the Bible? What is that representative of? Thanksgiving. We say that Thanksgiving is about giving thanks to God. So we have this special national holiday where we give God thanks for all the things he's given us and blessed us with throughout the year. You should be thanking God for that every day, not just at Thanksgiving. And bringing your family together, you can bring them together anytime during the year and give thanks. The true thing about Thanksgiving, as much as it's going to hurt people, and a lot of people are going to get angry, some people may agree, but Thanksgiving was about the massacre of thousands of people, maybe millions. I don't even know how many Native American Indians were here at the time. But the stealing of land from people who helped the pilgrims to learn how to have gardens, and learn how to make tools, and learn how to survive in this country, because we escaped Britain or England or whatever you want to say, and the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion that our forefathers desired. So we came to this country to make that happen. And what are we doing but coming full circle, people? And we're now demanding that everybody in this country worship the same way, believe the way that we believe, except that there is only one God. And none of this has anything to do with my personal beliefs, because I have them. But this is about accepting everybody regardless of what they believe, who they believe in. Because in the end of it all, it's how you behave towards your fellow man, your fellow human beings. That's why God made us superior to the animals on this planet, because we can think, we can express. Animals can too, but we can talk, we can share our emotions. And unfortunately, we're at a time that animals are probably much more loving and caring than what we are as a human race. And so when we don't like something, something's brought to the forefront. You go to HR and you report something that's inappropriate, or happened during an interview, or happened, where someone said something or asked a question that you were extremely uncomfortable with, and they turn around and give you some, I'm sorry, crappy answer to just kind of justify that there was no wrongdoing on their part, but they'd be willing to put you in contact with that particular department so that they can maybe reprimand the people, just like Trump might have colluded and he may have lied about the report or had Barr to minimize his role play in it. But the facts are that many people try to hide the things and hide behind all these other beliefs to justify their desire to worship and have graven images and idols in their homes. If you're somebody who collects a lot of angels and you love angels, I'm not saying that you can't have them, but I'm saying that you must at least acknowledge where those particular things stand in your life. If you have them there because they're beautiful, you just love angels, that's one thing. But if your grandkids come over and knock one off and you want to beat them silly or, punch them out or whatever, then you've got a real problem when things become more important to you than you are becoming materialistic. And you're probably going to be one of those people that think that a hearse is going to pull your stuff to the grave and unload it on top of you when they're planting your ass in the ground. And it's simply not going to happen. And any of you who think that everyone's going to be so devastated that life will stop for them, life stops for no one. And that's a sad reality. I don't care how hard you work, how hard you try, how hard you try to be part of history, how hard you try to be a good Christian, how hard you try to lift up the Lord, and how hard you judge other people to try to force them or shame them. Shame them. So religious shaming people into believing in your way, or standing on the sidewalk calling people heathens, or telling people that they're going to hell and they're going to spend their eternity in damnation. They don't know that person. They don't know me, but they've said, oh, you're going to hell. Okay, well, that's your opinion. And you are judging, even though you're told not to judge. So when you have graven images and you really hold them higher than God, and some of you probably don't even realize that you do it, or you put a tree in your house and you explain it off as being the celebration of Christ's birth. That's what it means to me. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of you have said to me, lean not unto your own understanding, which is in the Bible. Lean not to your own understanding. And so all of you have accepted that Christmas is a necessary part of this life, that the Christmas tree holds a very high place in Christianity because it symbolizes the tree. And I don't know whether it's hope or family coming together. And so you have the Christmas tree to celebrate the birth of Christ. It has nothing to do with the birth of Christ. What has to do with the birth of Christ and the death of Christ is you're loving the whole human race equally. And you're not sitting back saying, well, this person is black, so they don't deserve to be loved, and they should be backstabbed, or they should be shot while they're holding their cell phone. Their mothers should be standing, weeping over them for the rest of their lives for the senseless death that was brought upon them, because somebody decided that black men are more dangerous than white men or Hispanic men or any other kind of men, Asian men. And so they're more dangerous, so we need to shoot them and then ask questions later. Well, once a person is dead, they're dead. You can't do anything to undo that for the mother whose heart is broken the father whose heart is broken, the family that is torn apart by the careless and senseless reaction of a police officer to feeling threatened. And when you talk about snowflakes, then I think that when you take a job as a police officer, it's the equivalent of going into the military and wanting to be infantry in the army, or you want to be in the Air Force and fly Black Hawk helicopters or whatever. Uh, and then you're killed. And then everybody's like, oh my God, like who would have expected that to happen? Well, your son or daughter who joined that knew the risks, just like cops know the risks of going out there every day and facing criminals. And I'm not saying that cops deserve to be killed. I'm not saying that criminals should be allowed to go free. But there is a process, there is a way of doing things, and there's a way of showing admiration and respect for life. And that, my friend, is being lost in this country. I see it on the internet all the time. People just willing to kill someone at the drop of a hat. Maybe they're angry. Maybe life hasn't gone their way. I see people post stuff, and yeah, I'm guilty of thinking, okay, this person normally swears on here, but today they're posting some Christian comment about how great everything is, and the next day they're about what a piece of shit people are, and that just doesn't seem to mesh with my idea or my teachings of what Christianity was. And you know, in other religions, I don't know everything about other religions, and I don't pretend to know. I only know about the religion that I was raised up in. But I don't condemn people based upon their religious belief or lack of religious belief, or it is a belief of their non-belief. So, you know, this stuff of like football games have become a graven image or an idol. I mean, look at how many parents have beat up other parents, or one guy was killed at a game because another parent got ticked off. And it's senseless. It's a senseless act that is just insane. Or someone going to an abortion clinic and saying, okay, I got to stop these people from killing other people. So I'm going to take a gun and I'm going to blow them away, or I'm going to blow up this facility that's killing the life of these embryos or these babies that are inside of people. Yeah, do you believe in your heart that these are living beings inside of that person? Yeah, you have to decide that for yourself. My opinion doesn't matter. What matters is the woman that is carrying that child or that fetus inside of her. She knows what the consequences are. She knows whether she's going to be able to raise that child or not. She knows whether that child was an act of violence, an act of rape, something that will mess her up psychologically and to force her to go to term and have a baby that was implanted in her by her rapist, her violent perpetrator. That's not our decision. But in the end, she has to make the decision that she's comfortable with, because ultimately she has to face God. You're not going to be there to explain what she did and why she did it, because you have a minuscule mind compared to what God has. And the vastness of God's mind goes beyond anything you can imagine. God knows all, He sees all, and He hears all. And so that is God's place. It's not your place. How many of you have a red phone that's a hotline to God, where you can call God up on the phone and say, hey, you know, so and so is doing this, and don't you think this person should go to hell? That's not your place. Your place is to face God and to face what your eternal life is going to be, if you believe that way. Some people believe that when we die, we're dead. The Jehovah's Witnesses have belief that once you go to the grave is your hell. And only 144,000 people are going to be allowed into the kingdom of heaven. and will be brought to the new heaven and the new earth. Some of what I've read about Jehovah's Witnesses are, families are going to kind of be put together. And, Muslims believe that if they give up their lives for their beliefs, not all Muslims, but a lot of Muslims, that they're going to get, 72 virgins when they get to the heaven. Well, if you look at, okay, heaven's supposed to be about purity and sanctity and about goodness. And so things like sexual intercourse will not be needed or will not be a part of heaven. So that could be my discriminatory thought, and saying that Muslims are crazy and they're not going to get 72 virgins when they die. And they may very well get those. But, I don't think that God is going to justify the murdering of human beings because people think they deserve to die. And this is something I want to talk about later on, involving capital punishment and that argument, which has been a debate forever about whether we have the right to put people to death or not. And is it judging? Oh, it's absolutely judging. It is absolutely judging. And we'll hit on that more later. But, Adam Schiff, stay where you are. Don't let anybody bully you or browbeat you down. Nancy Pelosi, stay strong. Do what you're doing. The Senator Ortiz, I can't remember the last name. It's a little long, and I'm old, so I don't always remember. But from New York, stay strong. Ask the questions that you need to ask. Don't let anybody say that your inexperience makes you not prepared for what you have been chosen to do. Donald Trump was not a viable option for president of the United States. In fact, he lacked many of the characteristics that would make him a fair and bipartisan president. Getting on Twitter and bashing Democrats and implanting in the minds of the Republican side that Democrats are just evil. Paul Ryan said in an interview that Democrats, liberals actually, lack faith. And I take offense to that, because that was a generalized, stereotypical thing that he said. But the interview was on Fox News, so what do you expect? What I find ironic about Fox is the number of sexual harassment cases that have come forth out of that. For all these people who claim to be about living above reproach, and then people coming forward and saying they were being sexually harassed and even made to perform oral sex in order to keep a job or to find themselves in a higher level place of employment by doing it. It's pretty sad. And a lot of people say, this person felt like they were forced to do it. No. I mean, I can honestly say, if I was called into an office and told, you go down on me, or you're not going to get a job, or you're not going to get promoted, I'd walk out. And I'd go immediately to Human Resources or to a lawyer or to the EEOC. And I would tell them exactly what went down. Or I'd ask if it's okay for me to record those events so that I have the evidence to prove that I'm being sexually harassed. I think the whole idea of recording people and their behavior would put a stop to a lot of shenanigans that go on in this country in terms of sexual harassment and gay bashing and humiliation in the workplace and racism and anti-Semitism and all of that, misogyny, all of that would go out the window if people were able to be recorded. The bathrooms are supposed to be private. But I don't know if any of you heard of the case that happened in Harrison County, West Virginia. I'm from West Virginia, So a guy there, I think he might have been an assistant principal or something, uh, followed a transgendered student into the bathroom and crossed the lines in terms of making the student show or watch the student peeing or whatever. And the student stood up and complained. The guy's name was Livingood. He was temporarily placed on suspension. Then he was brought back. The superintendent of schools there was like Michael Manchin. Superintendent of schools, I'm pretty sure it was Mike Manchin. Might be related to Joe Manchin, who is one of the senators from West Virginia, who seems to really set kind of close to Trump and idolize Trump in a lot of ways. Joe Manchin, in my opinion, has used his political career as governor of West Virginia and to become senator of West Virginia, and used Democratic status as a Democrat to further his gains for his Republican ideas or his conservative values. And so eventually I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't become a Republican. And when he was governor of West Virginia, I may have said this yesterday, there was people ended up getting fired over retroactively giving his daughter, Heather Brush, a degree retroactively, a master's degree. And she was CEO or CFO of Mylan Pharmaceuticals, getting paid about $400K plus a year. And so they gave her 21 credits. She claimed to not know about it or, and this kind of thing, but she was told that she would get these credits, blah, 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 for whatever reason. And there was an investigation done at some point. Some media outlet was checking her out and found out that she got 21 credit hours that she had not earned. And it resulted in the stepping down of a president to the university that had only been in office for a matter of months. It may have been 6 months. The provost that was at that time provost ended up getting relieved of his duties as provost. And there was 2 people in the business school who ended up losing their jobs as a result of this retroactive degree that she received. And so this is, talking about college scandals and things like that, which I don't really want to go in depth on. It's not a new thing. It's not something that just started happening. It had been going on. So that was kind of my spiel for the day. Think about your graven images, your idols, the people and things that you worship, the things that you hold far more superior to anyone or anything in your life. And if you are not holding human beings as a valuable commodity, then you really want to rethink your whole idea about what your religious beliefs are and how you practice them. I just think we all need to love each other. We need to be respectful of each other. But we also, sometimes, it's not disrespectful to speak your mind. It's how you speak it. And that you don't go out and try to hurt people that you don't agree with. Try to violently attack them or go into a mosque and shoot down all these people or gun down school children in a school because you're angry that you were bullied. And bullying is a subject matter I want to get into at some point. Maybe it'll be the next podcast, whatever strikes my fancy. But what you're going to hear from me is the absolute truth. And I'm Peter Fabrizius, and I thank you for listening to me today. Your comments and suggestions would be greatly appreciated, and you can put those below this video. And always be respectful, as I've said before. Disrespect equals removal of your comment, and I'm not going to listen to ramblings and spewings of filth or vulgar comments. This should be a place where we can have our discussions. And if you are going to say something, base it on fact. Go to Snopes.com, Snopes.com, and find facts that are valid websites, valid sources. And a valid source isn't you go to someone's blog and they say all this stuff and then you go, oh, this is a valid source. It's not. Wikipedia is not a valid source. So don't quote stuff from Wikipedia. If you want a valid source, go down to the bottom of Wikipedia where they list their references. Go to some of those books, read the material, read it. Don't pick one sentence, but read the entire chapter that particular thing is referenced from, and then get your full idea and thought processes in order. And don't come on spewing a bunch of stuff, that I was on the Westboro Baptist Church's site and they said blah, blah, blah. And they're the authority figure. They said that God said blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to talk about later on, and as scary as this is and creepy, and maybe you're trying to think that I'm trying to talk you out of believing in God, that is not my intention whatsoever, because I believe in God. But you might want to ask yourself when you're thinking about your believing in God, like, what does that mean for you? Does God want you to hate people? Does God want you to blast people with that hatred? Does he want you to go across the country and call people faggots, call people evil, and tell them they're condemned to hell, and say things to people that are just highly inappropriate, or put a picture of a woman's son who died in Laramie, Wyoming, and Matthew Shepard, and they had his picture on their site with flames behind his picture saying burning in hell, and it's been this many days. Okay, that's not funny. People took a life. It doesn't matter that that was a gay life. They took a life. It doesn't matter that it was a black life. They took a life. What matters is they killed a human being. And for you to put that kind of stuff up on a website and to say that you're glorifying God by celebrating the death of that individual, or bragging about that individual being in hell, and inflicting further pain on the mother who is suffering, or the mothers who are suffering, and the fathers and the families, because you have this need, or this vendetta, or this hate that you need to get out there against someone. You need to really think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, because you will face God. And if you think God's going to give you a super reward because you judged people and condemned them to hell, you might want to read the Bible again. And actually, I wonder how many of you read every single word of the Bible? How many of you just gone to church and listened to the minister preach and wrote stuff in your Bible? How many of you have sat down and read the Bible from the New Testament on, and then went to the Old Testament and read what was in the Old Testament? How many of you can read Hebrew to read what the Bible said before it was translated? And yeah, a lot of you will say, well, God would protect his word. Well, maybe he has protected it, and it's in Hebrew. And so, we've got all these different versions of the Bible. I'm not going to get into that again. I've already talked to you about it. So anyway, at this point, I guess I'm just rambling a little bit. But it's important for me to see people be kind and love each other, accept each other just for who they are, and say good morning to that person who looks grumpy on the sidewalk. You might just make their day. Say something kind. You may just stop someone from killing themselves or committing suicide. You may say something nasty to that person and push them over the edge. And you may not feel that you're going to be held accountable, and if they killed themselves, they were a coward. But remember, God is who is ultimately in charge and will decide whether you played a role in ending the life of someone that you could have saved by just being kind and accepting them and loving them as a human being. So that's all for now. Peter Fabrizius, this is the absolute truth. And I hope you'll join me again for my next podcast. And I haven't decided what that's going to be on yet. I have several ideas. And I'm also waiting to hear responses from other people who might want to hear more about other things. I am looking into the deep state and reading about it and seeing where people are coming from in reference to the deep state. And then I may podcast on that in the next several days. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day and many peace and blessings to you all for a happy life. Thank you.